my name is Rainy. Yes, like the rain from the sky, it's my real name. Now let's get into the video. In the last video, I mentioned that I had been out of work because I got hurt at work. So I thought I would do like a little story of why I'm home all the time and what happened. It's really not that exciting. If anything, it really pisses me off because it's so stupid. So that's what we're going to talk about. I work at a grocery store, and I work in an area where there's a large walk-in freezer. Now, what's even more ironic about this story is I had just gone on a week's vacation. I went to work and my shifts changed because I'm a manager. I'm a manager, so my shifts change. So one week I'm like mornings, next week I'm like afternoons and like closing shifts. So this week I happen to be closing. Second day back from a week's vacation. Came in 2 p.m. I'm doing my walk around and it was like 2:30, close to 3 p.m. I had a customer walk up to me. And she wanted me to make a single cupcake. One single cupcake. And it was for a gender reveal. So I was like, she's like, can you do that? And usually I would say no if we don't have cupcakes already thawed to be decorated. If they're still frozen, I'm like, no. But I was like, yeah, I'll help this lady out. I was like, it's just one cupcake. It's not going to take long at all. So I was like, yeah, I only have frozen ones. I hope that's okay. She's like, yeah, that's fine. So I go into this freezer. Now, before I go forward, a bit more backstory. So I live in the South. It's really hot. So if you open the door for a minute, it literally just the ice, whatever is kind of on those little flappy things, I cannot think what they're called, starts melting off. So there's ice built up on the ceilings and stuff. And literally before I went on vacation, I called our maintenance people, knocked ice down, and they had left the ice just wherever it fell. They didn't clean it up. Obviously, we cleaned up all the ice that was on the floor, so it was like slipping hazards and whatever large chunks of ice that were on boxes that we immediately grabbed, we cleared those. But we can't see everywhere where the ice had fallen, especially since it was on product. So fast forward back, second day back from vacation, I go into the freezer, I go to the section with the cupcakes. I grab the top cupcake. I cannot see what's on top of it, and I pull the box forward. And next thing I know, a large chunk of ice, like I'm talking like this long, that thick, comes flying at my face. And like, cause I pulled the box down with some decent force and it came flying at my face. So I turned as fast as I could. The ice hit me right here. It hit me so hard. My glasses went flying and everything went black for a second. And I was like, I don't really remember because it's been since July. So it's been almost 3 months. But I just remember it going black for like a couple of seconds. And I was like, what the hell? And then I immediately felt not okay. Like, I've gotten hit in the head a couple times as part of the job. Like, you know, boxes knocking you in the head. Just being human, hitting your head on things. And I felt like, okay. But no, when this smacked me, I immediately did not feel okay. I was like, oh God. I was like, I don't feel okay. But when I got hit in the head, I did not feel okay. So I was like, I'm going to have to call member management. I'm like, I do not feel okay. Something is wrong. But being me, I felt a little embarrassed, I guess. I didn't want to go back out into the out of the freezer and tell the customer, like, I can't make your cupcake. I don't feel okay. So I was like, it's just one cupcake. So I grabbed my glasses, it was 2 large chunks of ice. I don't think the second one hit me, but 2 came down. And the ice is on the floor. I left it as it was. I quickly put some icing on her cupcake, and then I have a walkie since I'm, management. I'm like, hey, I need a salary member management now to the bakery. So they came, I told them what happened. They're like, okay, we need to go file an accident report. So we go to the back, and with the company I work for, obviously they want to make sure that you're not hurt. So as soon as I go back there, I have to start filling out an incident report. And they call a doctor. It's like a nurse triage is what it's called. And you call them and you tell them your symptoms. And at that point, I started feeling really disoriented. Like, I really don't remember, because where I work is at the front of the building, and then where I had to go was the very back. And it's a pretty long walk. And I remember not really feeling okay walking. I had to walk really slow. And then I was just really disoriented. I remember them asking me questions, but it's like I really couldn't comprehend what I was saying, but I guess I was making sense, because no one's like, yo, you're not making sense. But to me, it didn't make sense. What I was saying did not make sense to me. It was weird. So I told the nurse on the phone, like, what was going on, and she's like, you need to go to the doctor right now. She's like, it's a head injury, first of all, and she's like, all these symptoms you're having, you need to go right now. So I couldn't drive myself. So another upper management, a woman, because, you know, men, women, all that kind of stuff, she drove me to a walk-in clinic, because it was right down the road. I go in there. I'm starting to get the worst headache I've ever had, which makes sense. I got knocked in the head. And I go in there. They finally call me back. My blood pressure is so high. And I know I'm a chunky girl, but my blood pressure had been really good because I had been exercising consistently. I ate right. I don't eat a lot of fried foods. Like, you know, my blood pressure had been good. And it was so high. And I felt so dizzy, so nauseous, had the worst headache. They're like, you need to lay down. They're like, we're going to turn the light off. You need to lay down and just calm down. The doctor finally comes in and he's like, there's nothing I can do for you. He's like, it sounds like you have a concussion, but he's like, to be sure that everything's good, we have to send you to the hospital so you can get a CT scan. So, like, you need to go to the ER. So from there, we go to the ER, which not that far. Honestly, the hospital is literally right next to where I work, like right next to it. And the walk-in clinic was further than the hospital. Whatever. So I go, and now I had to go in by myself, because who took me, she had to go back to work. And she was like, just call me or text me. We were both thinking it was going to be pretty quickly. Little did we know. So she's like, call me, text me when I need to come pick you up. I was like, okay, cool. So I go in there. I tell them what's going on. The hospital was super short staffed, which is understandable. I get it. You know, the world's a mess right now. We're still behind. So I sat in the ER for 6 hours before even getting triage, where, you know, like they check your symptoms, your blood pressure, what all that kind of stuff is. 6 hours. 6 hours. My headache was terrible. But I was starting to freak out, because I was like, it was a head injury. What if, like, you know, I knocked something? But I didn't pass out, so I think they're like, it wasn't too bad. But yeah, so I was in the waiting room a little bit freaked out, because I was like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting here forever. I got knocked in the head. My brain could be bleeding. But yes, obviously I'm fine-ish. But the accident roughly happened around 3 p.m. My husband got to the ER, because he works an hour away from where I work. We live in between. So he got there around 7, 8 o'clock, whatever time, in time for us to both go back there to be seen. So I do the CT scan. There's no bleeding. There's no bruising of my brain. I still feel terrible. I still feel nauseous. I still feel kind of disoriented. I have a headache from hell. I was already starting to get like a lump and a bruise in this area. The doctor was like, yo, take tomorrow off, but you need to make sure you follow up with the first doctor, and then all that kind of stuff. So I take the next day off of work. So I technically only worked 1 full day since being back from vacation. Worked an hour on the second day before doing a whole 7-hour process. So I get home, I rest, I feel dizzy, constantly feel dizzy. So I'm just like, feel terrible. Every time I move, the way I could explain it, it makes sense to me. It's not going to make sense to everybody else. But I felt like my brain was on a raft in the ocean, and it was just like, that's how it felt at first. Like, I felt like that. It was just like my head was like moving, like the waves crashing, and It was weird. And then I felt like my brain had to yawn. I don't know how else to explain it. If I walked, it was like my head needed to catch up with my body. Very weird. So I also had the next day off. So the doctor gave me, this happened on a Thursday. The doctor told me not to go to work on Friday. I was off on Saturday. So I returned to work on Sunday. Now, because I got hurt at work, I had to go through workers' comp and all their stuff to schedule appointments. I called them, the workers' comp people, was like, I'm going to try to go on Sunday. It's like, okay, it says it's walk-in, so just go in there. So I go to work on Sunday, and it was my week to go into mornings. So I went in at 6 a.m. The drive was scary. I live 30 minutes away from work, and I have to take the interstate. Luckily, I mean, if I turned my head, I was spinning. It was very dangerous. I do not know how I did not crash, how I did not vomit. It was scary. So I go to work and I'm like, barely can do anything. I can't move too fast. I have to keep my head like this, and I'm turning like this, and everybody's like, oh my God, did you hurt your neck? I'm like, no, if I free swivel my head, I was like, I get super dizzy. So by the end of the day, my neck was killing me. And if I looked up, I felt like I was falling. It was terrible. I felt awful. So I go to, because I'm trying to still work, because I'm a pain in the ass, and I don't think about myself. And I was like, oh my God, I need to work. I just came back from vacation. I can't be out of work. So I go to the walk-in clinic. They're like, oh, on Sundays we take appointments. I'm like, well, shit. And they're like, oh, and besides, we also need your medical records from the ER appointment. So we need you to get this, this, and this. I was like, okay, great. So I had to work the next day. So I drive home feeling terrible, constantly dizzy, feeling nauseous, can barely walk, have to lay down, can't do shit. Next day I go to work, 6 a.m., same thing. Terrible day. On my lunch break, I carefully go to the hospital, which is right next to my work. So I drive a short distance, I get my medical records, and then I was able to go to the walk-in clinic right after work. The doctor was like, oh, so how long did the ER doc keep you out? I'm like, he only kept me out one day. He's like, no, you have a concussion. He's like, yes, your brain is fine, the CT scan's fine, but he's like, but you have a concussion. It was a mild concussion, but it was a concussion nonetheless. I told him what was going on. He's like, yeah, no, you need to stay out for 5 days at least. He's like, it's like when football players get hit. It's the same situation. Things got rattled around in there. He's like, it's going to take some time for you to get back to normal. So he's like, I'm going to give you 5 days, and we'll come back in 5 days, and we'll see where you're at. So I take the 5 days. I feel so bad because I literally had just came back from vacation. I worked a total of 3 days and an hour, and here I am out for 6 days. I was panicking. The whole time I was out, I still felt terrible. I felt awful. So I'm in the middle of editing the video that you're currently watching, and I realized I ramble, and this video is already clocking out at like an hour long. It does not need to be an hour long. So I'm just going to quickly get through the rest of it. So I'm going to condense it. So there might be some weird jump, whatever. So I go to the doctor the first time. He gives me the 5 days off. I feel terrible the entire time I'm off. I go back for my checkup. I still have the same symptoms. So this continues for, I think, 3 or 2 more times before he's just to the point where he's like, there's nothing more that I can do for you. I'm going to have to refer you to a neurologist. He warns me that to get into the neurologist is going to take some time because the world is still super slow. So I'm just kind of in limbo during this time. I do eventually get scheduled for the appointment in October. Now, my accident happened July 22nd. The neurology appointment did not get scheduled until October the 11th. So I had this huge time span in between. During that time span, I still feel like crap every day. There was like 2 weeks where I just could lay on the couch because I constantly felt dizzy. It got better to where I wasn't feeling so dizzy, so I could do a lot more stuff. But if I moved too much, I got dizzy and nauseous and felt like I wanted to pass out. So I finally go to the neurologist, and he can't do anything for me. He's like, I don't think it's neurological anymore. He's like, I think that you have something going on with the fluid in your ears. And I initially told the first doctor that I thought it might be something going on with the fluid in my ears. So he did this thing. I do not remember what it's called, but I laid my head over the edge of the table, and then he like turned my head like at different angles. By the end of that, he said I turned green. I almost threw up. I almost passed out. It was terrible. So he's like, yeah, definitely could be something with your ears. So the neurologist kind of confirmed that it's definitely probably something with my ears. And then he's like, oh, the concussion probably gave you vertigo. If you don't know what vertigo is, it's basically where like the fluid in your ears gets all off balance and you get dizzy, nauseous, motion sickness, all kind of stuff, which is basically what I still have going on. I still can't drive. Driving is horrendous. I hate driving. I've tried to drive. It does not work out when I drive. So now the neurologist referred me to an ENT, which is an ears, nose, and throat doctor. He's like, they can probably do more for you, plus physical therapy, because I need to incorporate movement back into my life. Because I was so active before, and now I'm not active. And it's just, I need to get movement back because I can't do too much movement. Because last time I tried to do movement when I had super bad cabin fever. So I just drove 5 minutes up the road because I'm like, oh, I can handle a 5-minute drive. But I drove really slow like this. And I was there for less than a whole song's worth. So like less than 3 minutes. And I could not do it. Walking was terrible. And my dumbass tried to jog. Because I love running, I die after I start running because I can't breathe, but I actually enjoy when I'm actually running. I enjoy it. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to try it. No, jostled some shit around up there. Did not work out. So now I'm back in limbo again. Back in limbo, waiting to get scheduled for the ENT. Don't know when this appointment's going to be scheduled for. I pray it's not like it was for me being scheduled for the neurologist, because I don't think I could handle another 3 months of this. Like I said, I'm literally going crazy. I'm about to start redecorating all my furniture. I'm tired of looking at the brown of my furniture. I'm ready to paint it. I'm just ready to be back at work. I'm ready for my life to get back to normal. I know I'm always going to have like something going on with my head. But I'm ready to get it back to the point where I can at least function normally. Because this is miserable. Absolutely miserable. And it doesn't help with the whole, being like depressed and sad over the whole fertility thing. Because now all I have is time to sit here and think about how I can't afford to do IVF right now. And now I really can't afford it because I'm not working. So I'm not making as much as I would be if I was working. And then now I'm taking like 20 steps backwards because I can't lose weight like I'm supposed to because I can't move around. And it's just frustrating. So in the typical Rainiverse fashion, I'm just frustrated, I'm angry, I'm pissed off. Like, that's just how it is. So if you have had a concussion and you know some tricks or something, give me some advice down so I can stop going crazy. For all you people who could not work during the pandemic, what did you do to keep busy? Because I'm kind of in a similar situation. I worked through the whole pandemic, so I didn't have a chance to learn how to do stuff without leaving your house. So if you have some, tips, let me know. But yeah, the next couple videos might be me just like learning or doing random stuff to keep busy. I'll keep you updated if it's interesting. I don't know. But yeah, that's my story. That's why I'm at another standstill when it comes to the fertility thing. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And once again, leave me comments. Give me some words of wisdom. Give me some advice. Cuss me out in the comments. I don't care if you think that what I'm doing is stupid. I don't care. Let's have a conversation. And yeah, hopefully this helped cut down the video a lot because that was a lot. But anyways, I'll see y'all next time. Bye. I always wanted to start a channel and talk about dealing with infertility. I was like, this is the perfect time. I'm at home all day. This is great. And I can talk to people even though it's still me talking to myself. So I started this channel and I'm going to continue it as long as I can come up with content. So, crap, I did it again.